Communication requests sat unanswered for almost 30 seconds. That alone was unusual. Most governments did not make Kenny Reach wait. Most governments also didn't have the confidence to contact him unexpectedly, especially after the reputation he had earned over the last few years. The winner of Eclipse, the founder of Reach, the man currently locked in a cold war with House Rain. The transmission icon continued blinking patiently. Kenny finally leaned back in his chair. The floating daggers beside him rotated slowly through the air. Then he pressed accept. The hologram activated immediately. A woman appeared. Dark silver hair, golden eyes, mid-30s perhaps. She wore elegant royal attire beneath a military-style overcoat and carried herself with the confidence of someone used to authority. Behind her stretched a beautiful throne room decorated with deep blue banners and polished white stone. Neither spoke initially. They simply studied each other. The Queen spoke first. "Lord Reach." Kenny folded his arms. "Queen." The woman smiled politely. "Thank you for accepting." Kenny remained completely neutral. "What do you want?" The Queen blinked once. "Straight to business. Interesting. I was hoping for a conversation. You got one." The Queen actually laughed slightly. That surprised him. Most rulers became uncomfortable when he spoke bluntly. She seemed amused by it. The Queen tilted her head. "I can see why House Rain struggles with you." Kenny's expression remained unchanged. The woman eventually sighed. "Fair enough." She folded her hands. "I suppose I should start by apologizing." That caught him slightly off guard. "For what?" The Queen looked genuinely confused. "Several things probably." Then she smiled. "But specifically for the hostile approach made by my government some years ago regarding the dawn fruit." Silence. Kenny stared at her, then slowly leaned forward. "You know about that?" "Only recently." The Queen nodded. "I reviewed old diplomatic records after requesting information regarding Reach." Another pause. The reports were concerning. Kenny laughed once, no humor in it. Concerning. The Queen raised an eyebrow. "I assume that's an understatement." Kenny nodded. "Your officers demanded access to resources they had no claim over." Another pause, then implied military action. The Queen visibly frowned. That wasn't political frowning. That was genuine irritation. Military action? Kenny stared. "You didn't know?" The Queen slowly shook her head. "No." Silence settled between them. The ruler of Tyrannus looked genuinely disturbed now. Kenny immediately noticed. Interesting. The reaction appeared authentic, not performed, not political. Authentic. The Queen sighed heavily. "Our military occasionally outsources negotiations through regional command authorities." Kenny's expression instantly hardened. The Queen immediately noticed. "What?" Kenny almost looked offended. "That's stupid." Silence. Several advisors behind the Queen suddenly looked uncomfortable. The Queen blinked. "What?" Kenny leaned forward. "Your military can negotiate on behalf of your government without direct approval?" The Queen hesitated. "Certain situations. That's stupid." The Queen frowned. Kenny continued. "No." He pointed directly toward her. "That's dangerous." The room behind her went quiet. Kenny's voice remained calm, which somehow made it worse. "Your officers nearly caused an interstellar conflict." The Queen's eyes widened slightly. Kenny continued. "They approached me like criminals." Another pause. "They threatened my planet." Another. "I was prepared to visit yours personally." Silence. The Queen stared. Kenny remained completely serious. "And?" The question escaped her before she could stop it. Kenny answered honestly. "I was going to treat it like Eclipse." The throne room froze. Every advisor, every guard, every attendant. Nobody spoke, because everyone knew what Eclipse meant. The Queen visibly paled. Only slightly, but enough. Kenny continued casually. Fortunately, they backed off. Silence. The Queen slowly exhaled. "That." Another pause. "Is not an outcome I would have preferred." "No." Kenny nodded. "It wouldn't have been good for either of us." The Queen stared for several seconds, then slowly rubbed her forehead. "The officer responsible is being investigated immediately." Kenny shrugged. "I don't care." The answer came instantly. The Queen blinked. "What?" Kenny leaned back. "It happened years ago." The floating daggers continued their slow rotation. "You either fix your system or you don't." Another pause. "Not my problem." The Queen stared, then unexpectedly smiled. You're extremely difficult to impress. Kenny shrugged again. I wasn't aware I was being impressed. A laugh escaped her. Genuine this time, not political. The atmosphere eased slightly, only slightly. The Queen eventually straightened. Very well. Her expression became more serious. I'll stop wasting your time. Finally, the actual reason. Kenny folded his arms. I'm listening. The Queen took a breath. My planet has no love for House Rain. That immediately got his attention. The woman continued. They have pressured our trade routes. Another pause. Attempted political influence, another. And recently they've begun probing our outer territories. Kenny remained silent. The Queen continued carefully. I've watched your conflict with them closely. A small smile appeared, and I must admit, she tilted her head slightly. Watching them lose their minds over you has been entertaining. Kenny almost smiled. Almost. The Queen noticed. Victory. Tiny victory. The woman folded her hands. I would like to discuss an alliance. Silence. There it was. The real reason. Not trade, not resources, not dawn fruit, politics. The Queen looked directly toward him. I don't expect an answer immediately. Another pause. I'd simply like to meet. The hologram room remained quiet. Kenny studied her carefully. The woman appeared honest. At least as honest as politicians ever became. No manipulation, no obvious trap. Just opportunity. Finally, Kenny spoke. In person. The Queen nodded. In person. Silence. Then Kenny stood. The Queen looked surprised. That's a yes? It's a visit. The Queen laughed again. I'll take it. The transmission ended shortly afterward. The hologram disappeared. The command center became quiet once more. Kenny stood staring toward the city beyond the windows. Alliance. Interesting. Potentially useful. Potentially dangerous. The doors behind him opened. Pines entered first. Naturally. Well? Lyra followed behind him carrying a coffee. Also naturally. Pines pointed dramatically. What happened? Kenny looked toward them. The Queen wants a meeting. Pines blinked. That quotes it? That's it? The former Eclipse survivor looked disappointed. I was hoping for threats. Lyra handed him the coffee. You're always hoping for threats, because threats are easier. Kenny ignored them both. I'm visiting. Lyra immediately looked interested. When? Tomorrow. Pines froze. Tomorrow? Kenny nodded. The former Eclipse survivor pointed toward himself. I assume I am coming, obviously. Pines nodded proudly. Excellent. Lyra sipped her coffee. I suppose I'm coming too. Nobody questioned that, not even slightly. Several hours later, preparations began. It was selected. Security teams assembled. Flight plans approved. The entire process moved quickly. By sunset, the ship sat ready on the launch platform overlooking the ocean. The twin suns dipped toward the horizon. Golden light washed across the academy grounds. Pines stood beside the boarding ramp arguing with a cargo officer about snacks. A very important battle, apparently. Lyra eventually walked over carrying a small travel bag. Without looking, she casually handed Pines a wrapped food packet. Here. Pines blinked. What is this? The thing you forgot. Silence. Pines looked inside. His favorite travel rations. The exact brand, the exact flavor. The man smiled slightly. Thanks. Lyra shrugged. No problem. Then immediately walked away. Neither seemed to think much about it. Kenny, however, noticed. So did Darius. The older man quietly appeared beside him, watching the pair. Neither said anything. Pines was already following Lyra while complaining about something completely ridiculous. Lyra was pretending not to listen, yet somehow listening anyway. Darius smiled faintly. Interesting. Kenny looked toward him. The older man folded his arms. Nothing. That usually meant something. The transport engines began warming up. Blue light illuminated the platform. The journey ahead promised opportunity, possibly allies, possibly trouble, maybe both. Kenny stepped aboard first. Pines followed, still talking. Lyra followed after him, still pretending not to enjoy the conversation. The ramp slowly closed behind them. Moments later, the transport lifted into the evening sky, and somewhere beyond the stars, a queen waited to meet the man who had become the galaxy's biggest problem for House Rain.